Hello, everybody. It is December 11th, 2024. Yes, it's the same day as I did last week's journal. I thought I would do another one today. So, I guess let's just dive in. So, May 25th, I decided to look into the royals in Canada a little deeper. I looked up the royal visits to Canada in 1973. I was first thinking 1972, but my parts told me to put 1973. Just prior to that, I smoked half a cigarette. I think I found the place, and I knew who was in the audience. As I was looking it up, my hands were shaking. Then other parts of my body started shaking, so I went out and beat up Ted for a while. I'm so scared. The people that were in the audience in that theater were the Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. I was also told by my parts that my handler was a CIA person. I heard him talking to the theater director about why my dad was there and that he needed my dad to help control me. The director didn't like it at all, but he accepted it because he had other concerns. I remember that crown vividly, and it's the crown of Queen Elizabeth. And the women I heard talking about having to boil their jewels and such was the Queen's handmaid or whatever they're called. It also occurred to me that I remembered thinking, correction, Jonathan was thinking that he knew he would outlive them because they were old already, that once they were dead, then he knew he could relax. We were quite confused. We are quite confused right now. I finished that cigarette and I'm shaking. I have a lot of adrenaline. I went out and beat up Ted again, once this morning and twice tonight. There's a fire north of us, so Chris went there to keep an eye on things for his job. So I'm here alone, just absolutely freaked out that I was made to murder people for the Queen. Who am I? Why? I don't even know what to do. Jonathan's really freaked out because my handler, the CIA guy, and the director of the theater and my father were all standing over me, telling me how important these people were, that they ruled the world, and at one peep of any of this, and I would be killed instantly, and my whole family would be killed instantly. So that I'd better keep my mouth shut if I wanted to live and I wanted my family to live. I remember Jonathan not knowing who they were, but thinking, when they were all dead, then I'll be safe. First, my dad in April 2020, then the Duke in 2021, then the Queen September 22, then my mom December 22. I had another half cigarette outside, and now I'm inside having mild diarrhea again. Before I started all that research, I worked on my parts map for about 3 hours. There's another part called Siggy. She is the one who smokes. She wants to forget. Anyway, I realized that there is one more adult that Jonathan decapitated. This is the one where the Queen and Prince Philip were in the audience. I was supposed to try and recreate that first one. They put me on a platform behind an adult man again. He was just standing there in a daze. Again, I didn't cut all the way through, but this time on purpose. I was shocked I was able to do it again. But this time, instead of getting down and looking at him, I waited there for him to say it again. Are you not entertained? Then I pushed him forward. His head fell to his chest, the body fell forward, squirting blood all over the audience. This is when the Queen and Prince Philip got sprayed with blood. They loved it. The audience erupted with applause. I had become known for these shows, and the final one was at the theater with the director, and when the Queen and Prince Philip were there touring. It was my final beheading. Mom divorced Dad shortly after that. And I'll interject here. No, there was much more after that. Correction, I'm thinking that the first one is when the Queen and Prince Philip were there, and also the last one. The ones in between were for the other royals of lesser degree that happened to be in Canada during those times. I kept wondering, why would a demon come and possess this decapitated person and put on such a spectacular show? I realize now it was because the Queen and Prince Philip were there and they commanded such, or rather, they were of such stature that those demons came to ensure their pleasure. They would expect nothing less. All of this, all these memories while I'm smoking cigarettes. I'm still mildly shaking, but it's not as bad. as it was an hour ago before I beat up Ted twice. Thank you, Siggy and Jonathan, for showing me all of this. I don't know what I would do right now, but thank you. I want to rest now and wait for my warrior to come home. So it was yeah, still very nervous about this airing. People not gonna believe me. They're gonna think, but you know what? I've had all these months and I know it's the truth. I know it's real. I know it happened. So, oh geez, did I not share that? I didn't share it. Sorry. Here we go. Now we'll do it right. And I wish this stupid thing wouldn't do this. Anyway, so 27 May 22 is funny. Yesterday, I approached my laptop thinking about doing some work or research, and as I approached it, I got the strongest urge for a cigarette. I stopped and turned around and walked away, and the urge went away. It's like my parts were telling me they were going to have a cigarette in order to do work. So I did nothing. It's the next day, Monday morning. I took a bath to relax for a while, and Siggy showed me a bunch of stuff. Where to begin? Well, before the shows in the dressing room is where my handler would give me the cigarette with the upper. Siggy showed me that my handler's name is either Jack Sampson or Sam Jackson. He works for the CIA and MI6. So when he's working for American related stuff, he's Jack Sampson. Uncle Sam, the son of Sam. But when he is working with the British related stuff, he is Sam Jackson. Sam is for Uncle Sam, and Jack is for the Union Jack, their flag. The son is which part he was at the time, Jackson or Samson. I remember in Canada him correcting my dad and saying, "My name is Sam Jackson." And when we were in Chicago, he would say, "My name is Jack Samson." So he is compartmentalized with parts as well. Anyhow, after the first show in Canada with that beheading, Sam gave me a cigarette with a downer. But apparently it was too strong and it slingshotted me from being in a super high state to a super low state. I remember that feeling was like vertigo, except in my stomach. I felt like I was being flipped upside down and flung around. I have felt that many different times throughout my adult life, but I never knew what it was until now. It's usually when I was high. I vomited. I vomited a few times. My dad was hollering at Jack and he was screaming what his name was, Sam. What the hell? Now we got to clean her up. What the hell did you do? That's when the two handmaids to the royalty were able to come and clean me up. They put me in a warm tub. They were taken away from their duties because the royalty were busy having their orgy and they had time. That's when I heard them talking about having to boil the jewels in order to get the blood out. They were telling me that I would be okay now, that the bath should help relax me. They got they got me all cleaned up. After that, I passed out and I was carried to the plane and flown to Milwaukee and then driven home. Subsequent visits after that, then the cigarettes were not as strong. So after the show, he would give me one cigarette, half strength, that would bring me down a little bit. Then after they took me to the plane, then my dad gave me another cigarette, that half strength, and that would knock me out. The handler was with us on the plane ride to Canada, but once we got there, he stayed there and we came back by ourselves. On the plane to Canada, I would sometimes be made to give Dad or Jack a blowjob, or they would rape me. So the plane rides were about Kitten and Sailor, and once I got to the playhouses and performed, then it was about being Finnegan, Jonathan, or Pumpkin. It dawned on me that my handler was compartmentalized as well because he had two different personas. When he was the Jackson persona, he had a British accent. When he was the Samson persona, he had an American accent. This is the handler that was at the school. I believe it was his job to sort through and test and vet the different students so that he could utilize them for different jobs. This is the man that had the short, dark military cut. Oh, I think I did some sketches of that. So let me find those. Yikes. Journal, sketches. I looked before. I believe this is it. Come on now. There he is. Handler. He had the squarish face. Jack Sampson, CIA, Sam Jackson for MI6. Oh, and just 2 weeks ago, I found his real life photo. I need to bring that up because that's a big deal. Oh, geez, where did I put it? Perps? Jack Sampson, Sam Jackson. And it was, I found him looking for Gerald Ford stuff because I was abused by him. And I was with Ford and his wife in Finland. And I was looking at those photos, and here he is. And I knew it was him because of the curly hair and the squarish jaw. And I'll show you the sketch again. Let me shrink that up so that y'all can and I've not compared these yet, but it is the jaw, the eyes, the eyebrows, except in this image, his hair was parted differently and he had a mustache and he was in casual clothes. But this is him. It's him. When I saw it, my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my goodness. And I was trying to figure out, who wears a pink badge. And look at this. This lady, same badge, looking at him like, what are you up to? Because he's eyeballing this little girl, isn't he? And you got this lady up there. So what's going on up there? She's got her glasses pulled down. It just, to me, seems like something strange is happening based on their expressions. So I finally found the guy. And I know that these are not his real names, but here he is with Betty Ford in Finland. So, anyhoodle. And here is the page that I took at him. Gerald R. Ford Presidential Library and Museum trip to Finland. There he is, and I was with them on that trip. This is not me, but I was with him. He was handling me. So it was for the Helsinki Accords. And I'll get to that later on down the road because that's not a pleasant memory. Um, Siggy also showed me that in the evenings, the way that Dad would drug Mom would be with cigarettes. I always used to think it was something in her drink at night or it was a sleeping pill somehow, but that was wrong. I remember that Mom smoked as well. I remember Dad getting several packs of cigarettes from Jack, and on them would be arrows up on the package or down on the package, so Dad would know which was which. Some were full strength and some half strength. He would give full strength to Mom in the evening. I remember him talking to Bob, now this is our neighbor, telling him how he did it go to the and go to the side. He was so slick. I'm not sure what that means. That he would wait for Mom to get his kids to bed, and as she was busy, he would put a cigarette in her pack. But so that he could be sure she would choose the right one, he would make sure the cigarette that he added that had a downer was sticking out just a little bit, so that when she opened it up and sat down to smoke a cigarette, she would select that one because it was sticking out a little bit. Shortly after she smoked that, she would fall asleep in the chair, and he would wake her up and tell her to go to bed, and she would. And she would be gone for the rest of the night. This is when he would come and get Angie or Mary to give him a blowjob in the living room. Those are my sisters. After that, whichever one of them was up would go back to bed, and he would get me and take me downstairs and do his experiments on me. That's where Pins and Stretch got tortured and conditioned. From time to time, he would have Kitten or Sailor out and rape them. When he took me downstairs, he gave me half-strength cigarette so that I would be more compliant. Right now, I have a desire for a cigarette. So it's 4:25, and this is in the morning, I believe, and I just had a half cigarette. I had the first half about 3 or 4 hours ago, right before I worked on my parts map. I guess it's the afternoon. I'm hiding it from Chris, which is really pathetic. But I went out to the shed and I smoked this half cigarette, and as I'm sitting there, I'm having a conversation with Siggy. And she is telling me that she has to smoke. She just has to smoke in order for everything to be okay. I pointed out to her that for the past 8 years, everything has just been fine and I have not smoked. She says, yeah, but things are not fine now, so I want to smoke. She is freaked out and panicked about that we're going to start having troubles in our lives because of what Jonathan has revealed, the royalty stuff. The authorities are going to start coming down on me and Chris. Anyway, as I finished it, I was trying to show her that things are not fine because now I'm shaking, dizzy, not walking straight, my legs feel heavy, and I bumped into the greenhouse door. I showed her everything is not fine, and she just had a cigarette. So you were just fine all afternoon, worked on all of your parts things, and you were just fine, and now that you've had a cigarette, you are not fine. I think what happened was she got triggered into all of her fears and everything about having to keep quiet. And now that we're not quiet, things are not going to be fine. Anyhow, I told her that we will, that she will get to be okay and as much as she wants to be, that we need to find another purpose for her. I think that while we are working on Ted, it will be revealed how she can have a new purpose. All of this upset that's going on with her and everything that she's afraid of, we need to work out as we're beating on Ted. She said, okay, fine, but not today. So the next many, many times that I'm beating up Ted, that it's going to be Siggy working on all of this rage. I also noticed that after I put the cigarette out that I started twisting the butt of it like I used to, not all the time, but sometimes. And it reminded me of what John said about twisting the rags to release frustration and anger. So Siggy has a lot of anger she needs to work out. So that's interesting to re-remember, or yeah, re-remember. I need to put Siggy on Ted. So I'll close that. Come on, computer. There we go. 528. Let me make sure I get the right one here because they're A and B. 28 May. So it's 1:15 in the morning and I'm not sleeping. Chris and I watched the movie The Great Raid together tonight. I must say I had a lot of anxiety. I finally asked Chris if I could have one of his cigarettes. I smoked it. They finally got to the rescue in the movie. The anxiety got a little bit better, but not much. It's the first time I watched a war movie and was excited and thrilled when the good guys annihilated the bad guys. In the past, I never really thought about it now, but now I was happy about it. Also, when I saw those soldiers advancing with their weapons on the enemy, I felt so proud that my husband was one of those people. I thought to myself, that's my man. During the firefight, I was anxious again. I had another cigarette. When it was over, I went and sat next to Chris, and I tucked myself under his arm and I let him hold me while I cried. He actually started crying too. Then he asked me why I was crying. I told him because I was scared. He said that he was scared sometimes too. Once I calmed down, I sat up. He was telling me about all the veteran stuff he was going through and the anxiety that he's had all weekend. He didn't even tell me anything about it until then. Then I thought I should tell him about my memory about the royalty stuff, and I told him I was really scared because I do my stuff online and I'm sure it's monitored, and I was scared our life is going to be disrupted. I told him, I said, I know it's really hard to believe, but it's there, it's real. I told him I was scared because these people were really powerful and they could really fuck us up. He didn't say anything. He proceeded to talk about him and what he was doing with the veterans with PTSD that he was helping this weekend by listening to them. So this is May 28th. I believe it's Memorial Day. He was telling me about a program that he thinks will help him, will also teach him to help other people. It's called Emotional Management Process Program. I listened to a 20-minute podcast about it, and it seems promising, but I don't know. The management part seems to be a red flag to me. Then, as I went to bed, he said to me, if the royal guard comes to the front door, don't worry, I've got my gun right here. He's so wonderful. I gave him a kiss and went to bed. That made me feel better. I guess that means he believes me. I finally laid down to go to bed around 11 o'clock and just lay there. I kept having images of tomato plants going through my mind. I had pruned them this morning, lots of vines, so they were quite thick. I kept wondering what that was all about. Then I had a flash of a memory of something when I was in my 20s. I thought that if I were wrapped in the vines of a plant, it would be very comforting. But when I allowed that image to progress to a point of the vines wrapping around my neck, it was like visualizing. That's when I got nervous and thought that wasn't such a great idea. Never really did that again. That's when the real snake decided to present herself. The part that I thought was snake is actually called lamprey. Snake is the part that existed right before lamprey. I started having memories of being in a tub of some sort, more like a metal rim around me lying there having snakes crawling all over me. Now I'm just screaming and screaming and screaming. I could not get that image out of my head. That's when I realized that's who Snake really is, not lamprey. Two different parts here. But I saw both of them as one, and now they're separating out and differentiating. Lying here for a while throughout, laying here for a while, I thought I would just get up and sketch the images of it. The way it worked out is that my grandpa and dad took us up to the barn where they had a futon set up. On the other side of the wall, up two steep stairs, was a pool of blood with lamprey in it. Anyway, they put us in these tubs with our arms and ankles tied up. They filled them up with water and snakes slithered all over us, but we were not submerged. I was screaming and screaming, and so was Angie and Mary. Finally, my grandma put gags on us. She kept telling us that once we calmed down and stopped moving, that we could get out. Well, apparently it took a very long time. To her, anyway. It did seem like an eternity. The thing is, they were sitting on the futon watching us and waiting, and they were all smoking. And I've got those sketches. I've got an upset stomach reading this right now. Okay, so this is May. Oh, what did I do here? Oh, went to the wrong place. Okay, there's quite a few pictures here, so I guess lamprey. Okay, here's the one where we're in this. We're like, I don't know. Dad's smoking over here. Grandpa's looking at his watch. Grandma's, Oh, this is the ending one. Okay, so I guess I need to start up here. Lamprey. When you calm down, you can get out. That's my grandma. Scream, 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 scream. This is what I'm wearing. Our wrists and our ankles are tied down. And these snakes are getting hot with an upset stomach right now. Okay, so there's that one. Now here's the three of us with my grandma, my dad, and my grandpa smoking cigarettes. Oh, this, I need to spin this around. There's Angie, Mary, and me, and now we've got, gags on our mouths. And behind this wall, a couple stairs, is this pool full of lamprey. It's just disgusting. Sorry, I'm not going to look at them terribly long because I have an upset stomach looking at them. Oh, here's where they're preparing us to go in. Our eyes are really big and we're freaked out. Oh my God, I've got to get in there, you know, and at a certain point then we were made to go. Oh, here, this is what it was, is they made us go into the vat of blood first, get covered in blood, and then they brought us back and put us in the thing full of snakes. Oh, I have an upset stomach. And then, yeah, there's I believe this is when they were letting us out, as we're lying there, not screaming anymore, but, disassociated in a thousand different ways. Grace say, sure took a long time, and she's releasing us. Dad's off smoking a cigarette. Oh, right, that's right. This is when we had the lamprey in our mouths and our vaginas, all three of us, and my grandpa's sitting there masturbating. And so those are those fabulous images. Um, get up from there. We did finally get to the point where we stopped screaming and stopped wiggling around and just laid there, stiff as boards and frozen. I remember that is when I learned how to clamp down my vaginal muscles to close the opening. That is where I imagined plants. I kept thinking what is beautiful and lovely and safe. So this is how I was disassociating. Instead of these snakes being on me, I was visualizing there were plants growing on me. I was thinking of flowers on how lovely they smell and that they can't hurt you in any way. I tried to imagine that was plants and that the vines of the plants were wiggling around me to feel safe. And so the day I was pruning my tomatoes and dealing with vines, it triggered this memory. Once we all calmed down, then they pulled us out. We were all in shock and frozen. Grandma, Grandpa, and Dad took each one of us and led us behind the wall with the two stairs. Oh, okay. With the two stairs into the pool of blood that had lamprey in it. They had us jump in it. We became submerged and came up out of it. I remember Angie and I looking at each other. At first, I thought it was a mirror I was looking in, but it wasn't. It was me and Angie looking at each other, both in shock, covered in blood with our eyes wide open. We could feel the lamprey slithering around and we could shake them off us, but that's about all we did. Mary was whimpering. They pulled us out of there and took us back to where we were before, but without the tubs. We were tied down again. They strapped lamprey in our mouths and in our vaginas. Grandma and Dad left, and Grandpa sat there watching us and masturbated. That's also when Grandma brought in the brown skinned girl, and she was placed in the pool of blood, and I believe she was eaten alive by the lamprey. The girl was screaming a long time, and Mary was crying. Once Grandpa was done masturbating and came about 8 times, then we were finally let up and hosed down and taken back to the house. We all had to pretend that everything was just fine and that we had a great day fishing with Grandpa. After I did the sketches, though, I realized why I remembered it. It was the smoking. Siggy was showing me the memories with smoking. As I lay down again, I thanked her and all the other parts for saving me and sparing me and giving me a normal life by suppressing all of those memories. I thanked them for showing me, and I was honest and I told them I'm a little freaked out right now, but I will resolve that. I thanked them profusely for saving my mind and my sanity and my heart. There's no way I could be who I am today without them saving me, and that I hope to be able to save them now and release all of them from their prisons to come and live with me here and now and for the rest of our life. I thank them over and over. It's now 2:18 in the morning, and I'm still not sleeping. An image of a man with fluffy blonde hair shaking it appeared. Um, I remembered it was when I was in Hollywood doing Scientology. I had gone to an event and he and I were walking back to the church. We were walking through an unfamiliar part of town. I do remember he pushed me between two apartment complexes with some trees and shrubbery for cover, and he somehow convinced me to allow him to have sex with me right then and there. I told him that I wasn't interested, but he was able to move me into this area and just take over. I did resist him. He bent me over and did his business, and I just let him. I thought it would be easier than fighting him. I was raped and I didn't even remember. I wound up walking back the rest of the way myself when he was done. I do remember being in shock, crying, and realizing I was just raped, but just walked back and cleaning myself once I got back to my room. I was embarrassed and ashamed at how stupid I was. I was blown away because now I think back, I do remember it, but for some reason, I think of it as agreeing to having sex with him. But in reality, I was coerced or persuaded or hypnotized, or he did something and we had sex right there. I didn't even remember it till right now. I must have been 30 years old. And I remember because he offered me a cigarette and I took it. We were both smoking as we were walking back to the church. I don't even really remember who this person is. I just thought someone associated with the church. Kitten took over and just handled everything. I was waiting outside the event for the bus to come and take me back to the church, but it was going to be a while. This guy was hanging out there and said, "Hey, why don't we just walk back ourselves? It'll probably be quicker." I said, "Sure, why not?" I thought he was a Scientologist waiting for the bus as well. The guy might not have been a Scientologist. I think he was stalking outside the event. I never saw this man before or after that. I think he was hanging outside of this event to find someone to rape. Once I went to sleep and woke up, he was erased from my mind. Wow. Thank you, kitten. So he, pushed me into that area, raped me. My kitten part took over, but also created a part that I call her original name was Leah, and now it's Leslie. So Leslie was raped by this man. But because Kitten knew how to handle men, she's the one that took over. 28 May. I keep having that song go through my head, Rich Girl by Hall & Oates. And y'all, I think y'all have seen me do the TED Talks with that song going. I think that's a song that was playing when I was with that son of the Balistreri in Milwaukee. Now, the Balistreris are a big-time mob family in Milwaukee. My front personality didn't know it. I just thought they owned Pete's parlors. It was playing when I was in his basement with him. I remember he kept asking me if I was an Avers, and I kept saying, yeah. I was confused as to why he even cared. We were nobody. I don't even remember how I met up with him. A friend, I think. Anyhow, he kept toying with me, and I didn't know it. He would move close to me, and I would back off, and then he would pull away from me, and I would move towards him. He pointed it out to me after he had done it 5 times. It shocked me that he was playing with me and knew it was happening. He pointed out to me that I must be comfortable being the aggressor and not comfortable having him be the aggressor. I remember we had sex, and that was it. But right now I'm starting to recall that I think there were more boys there. And by boys, I mean early 20s. I was in my early 20s. Have a vague recollection of him taking me to his basement after he and I had done it, and there were other boys there. I think there was a gang rape. It's funny because I'm only remembering this now because I'm smoking a cigarette. I went out to beat up Ted 3 times this morning and let Siggy have a good old time, but I didn't remember that part until now as I just finished another cigarette. I remember being in his house, and it was a very wealthy place, a very large house. I didn't feel a part of it, but I was also not uncomfortable. It's like I was familiar with it. It's just endless, endless these memories and things that I've been through, that I have been through. I'm gobsmacked at how much there is. Here's yet another rape I just completely suppressed. I asked him how he even knew anything about being an Avers or our family. He said, oh, it's nothing, just something his father had told him. He brushed it off. After we left his room, he took me down into the basement for a party. There were 3 boys and a girl, and that song was playing again, Rich Girl, and this Balistreri boy was teasing his sister about the lyrics to the song, that she was a rich girl, a bitch girl. Each of the boys took their turn, and she was spanking me and pulling my hair back so my mouth would be open for one of the boys. I think this went on for about an hour, and they finally had me leave. I never mixed with those people again or the friend that connected me with them. I still can't recall how I even got there. It's like I was drawn in there somehow to be the sex slave or toy for these people for their evening entertainment. And I'm thinking about it now. I recall there being satanic symbols around the room and candles and incense. They had masks on and they also took them off. And yes, now I remember black robes as well. They knew that I was programmed and they knew how to manipulate me with the programming. And when they were done, they sent me away. Even though he knew that I was comfortable being the aggressor, he and they took great pleasure in being the aggressor and making me the victim. Again, Kitten took over and handled everything. She knew just exactly what to do. She made sure they were all satisfied and was happy to go. And all satisfied and was happy to go. Now, this is at the point in time I was not really resistant to new parts, but I kept thinking, oh, this is another sex slave thing, so Kitten must have been handling it. Well, no, what happened was Kitten would be activated, go into overwhelm because we're not in a situation she knows and another part would be born that would be a sex slave. So this part's name is Lyric, Kira, and Eden because there was three of them. I'm having yet another cigarette and I'm remembering it was a connection through Crystal Dream. The place that I worked. I think someone came into the shop and we were introduced. This woman's eyebrows went up and said, really? She and Star, who is the owner of the shop, went into the back room to talk about something. She bought a very expensive crystal, then she left. I believe several days later that boy came in and flirted with me and invited me to his house, and that's where everything happened. I remember thinking that he liked me and that's why he invited me to his house, but that wasn't it at all. He had set a trap for me and his mother as well with him. So this was the boy of the woman that came in to bought this expensive crystal and talked with the owner of the shop in the back. And it took me a few weeks after this to realize that my boss, her name was Star, was my handler and had set all of this up. So I think that was the woman's way of buying me. She bought the crystal, got the stint, and Star set up a trafficking deal. So here's 30th of May. So I remembered more of the Scientology rape. This man pushed me into the dark area between two buildings and pushed me to the spot he wanted. I do remember pushing back against him and telling him to get off me, and what was he doing? He was stronger than me. As he pulled down my underwear, Finnegan, my knife fighter, thought about cutting his throat but didn't have a knife. Pumpkin, it's actually Pumpkin, looked around for a thick stick or something but couldn't find one. Joker didn't have anything to strangle with. Sarge piped up and said that killing wasn't allowed because it wasn't ordered. So Kitten just took over and said, just hurry up and get it over with. And he did. I don't think it even lasted 5 minutes. She thought he was pretty pathetic because he was so quick, because she was very, very relieved. It was Sadie who walked back home feeling sad and depressed, crying on and off. Krista is the one that felt stupid and naive. Sarge found the way back to the church. I went to sleep and did not remember it in the morning. And I'm thinking, this isn't Krista. This is actually Leslie. This is Leah/Leslie. So I was mixing up parts here because they had both experienced a rape. Now we're back to here. Krista is the new age persona. The Balustrade boy picked me/Krista up from the store. His driver opened up the back door and there he was. I was surprised he had a driver. He told me to get in a very careful and in a very cheerful way. I did. He said we're going to go to his house for a party. I wasn't expecting that, but I thought it would be okay. I hoped it would be okay. I also thought the drive would be 5 or 10 minutes. He told me that it wasn't far. It wound up being a 45-minute drive. I was nervous because he took I was nervous because he took me so far away. At the Balustrade house, he took me to a bedroom in the basement past some of his friends, and that's where we sat and talked for a while, and he was manipulating me. We had sex in there, and I remember he was rough. He put a dog collar on me and had me on my hands and knees. Kitten just allowed it. Krista thought this boy liked her. Sadie was depressed and wanted to cry, but Sarge did not allow it. After he was finished, I was trying to take the collar off, and I also reached for my clothes to get dressed, thinking I was going to go home now. He told me not to bother with that and jerked the chain that was on the dog collar around my neck. He took me out into the main room in the basement, and there were three boys and a girl in there. I was naked except for the collar. I knew there were other people in the house, but I didn't know they were right there. I was exposed to them all. I was embarrassed. That Hall & Oates song was playing Rich Girl. He said to the people there, remember to have your robe and mask on when you're effing her and take it off when you're not. That's how she is trained. Their masks were like the ones I saw in the movie Eyes Wide Shut, the robes as well. They were mocking me and that song, Rich Girl, the Bitch Girl. His sister was the rich girl and I was the bitch girl. Literally the bitch in a dog collar while someone walked or rode me. Dog was born. I was humiliated, completely, totally humiliated, degraded, belittled, and treated like an animal. They were just having a grand old time. I was led to a table and pushed over onto my elbows. One of the other boys started, and actually, I'm going to go back here. Dog, this is wrong. Dog was a part that my dad created in our basement because he also put a dog collar and a chain. I mean, trained me to be a dog in our basement. So this is a mistake here. This is Eden. I was led to a table and pushed over onto my elbows. One of the other boys started raping me from behind and another in my mouth. The girl, his sister, was whipping my ass with a multi-strap short whip on the table. At the same time, she was pulling the chained collar and thus my neck back so that my mouth would be open. I was mildly choked. They were laughing and singing and drinking and smoking. All of them had a turn raping me two at a time. That's when it was the girl's turn. She used her fingers and also a dildo from behind, and she was very rough. I still had the dog collar on as well as being choked. They would jerk me around from the table to the couch or wherever they wanted me. One boy had me crawling on the floor like a dog, and he straddled me and walked over me pretending like I was a horse and he was riding his horse. Sadie wanted to burst out crying, but Kitten and Sarge kept her in line. They knew if she broke down, Kitten would really get it. That would be Eden. So Sadie was ignored. After about an hour and a half, they were all good and drunk and they were finished with me. I remembered the drive home. I was introverted and very quiet and distant looking out the window. He was quiet for a while as well. It was a 45-minute drive. He asked me if I would be coming back again. Trip, my other angry rage part said, so that you can surprise gang rape me again? No way. You tricked me. I won't ever be back again. He smirked and said, you know that you were made for this. Trip said, no, I was not. That's when he quickly reached around and put his hand around my throat. He squeezed hard enough and long enough for me to be gasping for air. I had my hands on his wrist, but could not pull it off. Wolf kept me calm. I just looked him in the eye and was calm. I lowered my hands. Sadie thought, fuck it, kill me. He told me to keep my mouth shut and never mention where I was or who I was with. Then he let go. I said, don't worry, I don't even know where I am. Your secret is safe. He said, remember who my father is and what he can do to you and your family. You better keep your mouth shut. He and his driver left me on the street. As I was getting out of the car and turned to put my feet out, he took his foot on my butt and kicked me out. I wound up on my hands and feet on the sidewalk. They drove away. I had to walk a block or so to get to my car. My knee was injured and I was limping. And this is at the time when I was having body memory and a brace on my knee. It was in the middle of the night in downtown Milwaukee. I was alone, scared, hypervigilant, and moving quickly to get to my car. Once I got in my car, Sadie broke down crying. Sarge got us together and drove us home. As I was driving down the street, I was so shaken up that I sideswiped a parked car. I felt really bad, but I felt like what I had been through was much more important and I had to get home. To this day, I still feel bad about sideswiping that car. I woke up the next morning and did not remember it. but I remembered sideswiping the car. Plus, my butt was very sore for days. I didn't understand why. Siggy told me to just shake it off and forget about it. The next day, Mom asked me why I was limping, and I told her I'd just twisted my knee, and that's also why I was sitting down very gingerly. I didn't tell her it was because my butt was sore from being whipped and my knee injured from being kicked out of a car. After that, whenever that rich woman came into the store, I would go into the back because she scared me and I knew who she was. The boy never came back again, but I was still scared about being abducted. I latched onto a boy named Michael, thought I was in love with him, and went to Louisiana to go on vacation with him. Really, I was getting away from the Balistraries. Turns out my car broke down once we were there. We had no money and I could not get back home. I called home for help, but no one had any money to help me. We were so broke, we had to sell our blood to make money to buy food. There was no heat in the house in winter, so I would sit in the tub for hours to stay warm. Louisa was born then, because we were in Louisiana. I was constantly nervous and afraid. Turns out Michael liked to work in strip clubs, except stripping for men. He came home and told me that he wanted to make extra money by going to some of those men's homes after work. We got into an argument and he told me to beat on him. So I did because I was angry. He said, well, beat on. We were there for a year until we moved to Dallas where Crank was born. Now this is where we'd hang out in a trailer park with our neighbors snorting crank playing cards. And that was my way of trying to forget. I also had a flash of a man as I was laying down to go to sleep. And this just means time passed. I also had a flash of a man as I was laying down to go to sleep. In my mind, I heard someone say, "That's the handler." I got up and drew a sketch. As I was doing that, I also sketched the man that raped me on the way to the Scientology church. I also remembered Whitey, so I sketched him as well. See if I can find those. We saw the one of Jack. There he is. And the real picture, blonde at the bus stop. This was the Scientology rape. He had this white, fluffy hair, a round face. He just looked very innocent. I wish I was a better artist, but I'm not. Um, Note to mom, or maybe pumpkin. Oh, here's Whitey. This is what that albino man looked like. A round face, everything was white. You know, you obviously can't use a white marker on white paper, so it's yellow, but he had these really bizarre eyes, multicolored eyes. So there he is. And okay. It's 1 a.m. and I just had another bout of diarrhea. I also went and got another cigarette. I had one this morning and realized that yes, Siggy wants to smoke, but it's Andy that makes it a compulsion. Andy likes his uppers and is pissed off that he doesn't get amphetamines anymore. And he wants to smoke because that's all the stimulation drugs that he will ever get, and he knows it. So he makes Siggy smoke so that he can be happy. He was laughing and laughing at me because I kept thinking it was Siggy. And at this time, I kept trying to put which part is it? Is it one? Is it two? And I realized now there's about 80. And he wants to know that if I quit smoking forever, and does he just get ignored for eternity? I kept trying to talk to him about finding another outlet for him, but I couldn't think of one. And he doesn't want one. He's pretty adamant about stimulants. I think he has something to do with all the sugar that I eat as well. Siggy and the cigarette is to forget it all, and Sarge just moves on. Anne has the same motivations. Anne prefers to smoke weed because ultimately it is mellow and will put her to sleep. It is Andy who is the one who just likes to smoke throughout the day for stimulation. He's the one that makes it a habit. Let me get my lights popped off here. So I need to figure out how to rewire Andy or find something for him to feel as though he still has a purpose. Anne as well. Siggy too. They don't want to retire. They still want to exist just with a different purpose. But until they get a purpose, they want their satisfactions. Now, Plant is the part inside me that takes care of my plants. Plant got a lot of work done in the garden today. Then I took a nap. Jon worked on a transcript. Oh, Oh, my part, John. Worked on a transcript through the afternoon. I kept thinking I would get a break today, but as always, just as I'm trying to go to sleep, there's more memories. Thank God I don't have to work. Chris came home early, but had a meeting to do. Then he drank all night. He came in about 8:30 and we talked for a while. He told me this weekend he texted something to his upper management staff and he thinks he may have screwed up. He also showed me a text from his daughter who says that she's suicidal and she's asking for money. For the first time, Chris said no to the money, not until she moves to Louisiana with her mother who is going to pick her up. Apparently, she has been through quite a few traumas with her job and her ex-boyfriend. He also found out that Joe, his son with another woman, is having anger issues in the Marines right now, although he is fishing all the time, sending us pictures of fishing. So Chris is pretty stressed out about work right now and his daughter. He said Joe is a low priority. He also told me that his ex-wife Lisa, the girl's mother, the mother of the two girls, called him and left a message. He didn't know who it was, so he didn't know who it was from, so he listened to it, and when he realized that, he erased it and blocked her. He said she has no reason to call him ever. I was glad to hear that. Because his daughters are 30. You know what I mean? As I was laying in bed, I realized I had more parts. Mom is the part that came into being when Joe, my stepson, came into my life when he was 4. I love him more than I ever thought. I considered him the child that God wanted me to have because I didn't have any of my own. I was hurt by him just blowing us off for years, particularly about him coming back from the Marines and blowing us off for Thanksgiving and Christmas and all of January. He wrote to his father twice a week, every week he was in basic training. And Chris and I wrote him back. I thought finally, after all these years, we might be able to rekindle our relationship with him and have a future with him. But he created a major problem. We wanted to go to his graduation, and he knew it, and he completely excluded us. Then he created a situation with his mother, and she called, this is a different baby mama, and she called Chris and me and attacked us over the phone. He was here for 13 weeks and never once came to see us, even though he told us that he had pictures and a present for his father. No mention of me whatsoever. I spent many years with him one-on-one, tutoring and caring for him. Now I'm nothing to him. Time goes on. I don't know the name of the other part. Outsider, Osti perhaps, as in ostracized, but is the one who feels rejected and angry at Chris's daughters. They've been so disrespectful and nasty to us for 20 years now. I have a hard time feeling compassion for either one of them. As a matter of fact, I tend to think of them as bitches and the C word. And I don't use that word often at all, but I do try to temper it when he talks about his daughters. Kelly has asked for money nonstop for the past 20 years, and Chris never hesitated. We always sent the money. Tens of thousands of dollars. The last ask was 1 week before my baptism here at home. She wanted $10,000. She told Chris that she had medical bills and had to pay them off, and she did not have insurance from her work. I was suspicious. We sent her $3,500 that night. The next morning I was thinking about it and thought God was testing me, so I sent her another $3,500 that morning. It's out of our savings. Chris did not know that I did that, and he told me that we will not be sending any more. Kelly kept calling for more money. 2 days later, he told me to go ahead and get the new air conditioner installed. It was $10,000. That way, the next time she called, he could tell her that he didn't have the money because we're putting in a new air conditioner. We need a new air conditioner for years. But he finally decided to do it so that he could have a reason to tell her no. The next day, she and Chris talked over the phone, and she told Chris that her boyfriend had a gambling problem. It wasn't until I had time to think about it that I realized that she was lying. There's no way that a psychiatric unit where the employees get, because that's where she works, where the employees get beat up on all the time, which she had been many times, would not provide medical insurance. If they didn't, they would be sued to high heaven. When I realized that, I knew she was lying. I told Chris this as well. Plus, there was the boyfriend who has a gambling problem. So I'm pretty sure that's what the money went for. We agreed no more money each time she asked over the years, but he always caved against my better judgment. We always have arguments over it. Casey is a whole nother story. That's his other darling. Her wedding and each of her children and how she treats Chris is disgusting. I'm the outsider. Asti is my friend. That part. Time goes by. I just remembered Brave Girl. So I'm starting to have this cascade of all these memories. I'm going to pause just 1 second because someone's texting me and I'm going to just tell them that I'm recording and I'll be a moment. Geez, Louisa. So I'm going to pause. Okay, I'm back. Let me share again. So I'm having this cascade of parts come. I mean, I don't even know how many that was in like 2, 3 days' time. I just remembered Brave Girl had her tooth pulled out with no painkiller. I wasn't having any problems with it at all, but I had a routine dental visit and the dentist talked Mom into pulling it out. He said it was necessary. Mom didn't have the money for it, and the dentist convinced her that teeth are pulled all the time without anesthetic. I would be just fine. I remember being in the chair, taking the pain, and him calling me a brave girl. Brave was born. He enjoyed doing it. So it's the next morning. I went out and beat on Ted. Andy and Siggy are pissed off that their drugs are going to be taken away. They said that's all we are. We are drug addicts. We have no other purpose than to be drug addicts. And you don't want us to have any. So they're very pissed off. They don't know what is going to become of them. They've all been suppressed, Andy in particular, for 35 years. Ann got suppressed when I stopped smoking pot. Siggy was suppressed 8 years ago, but now is wide awake and screaming because I quit smoking for 8 years. They all like each other and they work together with Sadie, the sad girl. Sadie is the part that is depressed, doesn't care if she lives or die. She doesn't want to brush her teeth, she doesn't want to take a bath, her hair is usually ugly, and she doesn't care. She wears clothes that are dirty and worn, doesn't care what anybody thinks of her. She has an attitude with Kitten because Kitten's my sex life, because Kitten makes herself look nice, too nice, and then we get in trouble with men. Sadie decided that she keeps herself ugly so that men will not want her. Chris doesn't care one way or the other. He married me knowing I had this horrible eye condition. That's when I knew he loved us. It occurred to me last night, but I did nothing about it, but I had not taken a shower for about 4 days. I had on filthy clothes from working out in the garden. I kept telling myself to go change, but didn't. I had taken a couple of baths with Epsom salts. Anne really loves that. But it makes our hair crazy. Sadie doesn't care. So I took a shower just a moment ago. I put on a bright purple shirt instead of that drab green shirt from earlier. And I'm going to keep my hair down so that it can dry and be pretty. Not too pretty. I also gave Dixie a bath. It's my dog. I remember being a teenager and finally get braces. I was excited to have pretty teeth. When I joined the army, they would not let me wear my retainer. I had it tucked away in my locker. Then I went to put it on when I was allowed to, and it wouldn't fit. I was really depressed, and Sadie said, "Well, it's best anyway. You don't want to have pretty teeth or a pretty face." The army also gave those rape prevention glasses because you're not allowed to wear your own glasses in boot camp. Sadie was just fine with that. I always felt bad Mom spent so much money on it for nothing. My teeth went right back to where they were. I sometimes think about getting them again, but figure it's really pointless now. I remember talking to my counselor, but I said, you can get your teeth fixed now, and we could afford it. But I'm like, you know what? I am who I am. I'm 58, and my ego doesn't need that. So no, not gonna do it. So got the crooked teeth, and there's all of that. So. Those are those journals. You saw the sketches. Like I said again, forgive me if the journals and the sessions don't sync up perfectly. You might hear repeated information, but that's how it goes. I dictate the journal, I read it over, I put it in a PowerPoint, edit it again, and then I talk to my counselor about it, read it to him, and we discuss it. And so this is constant repetition of stuff. And now I'm reading it to you guys again, going, oh yeah, I forgot those little details already. So I recommend you go back and reread your stuff. It'll help trigger more details. And for me, it's not so much getting more details, but just remembering, oh, yeah, all of those details. That's right. So I'll let you all go. God bless you, watch over you, take care of you, surround you with his guardian angels of protection. I ask Jesus to bind all powers, principalities, spiritual wickedness in all places, on all planes of existence, having access to you. Bind astral projection to you. I pray that your memories, that God buffer your memories so that you're not traumatized again and that you're able to handle them, record them, reread them. Yes, you're going to cry. Yes, you're going to be angry. Work on Ted. Can't stress that enough. So, God bless you, your family, your home, your property, your pets, your vehicles. Surround you with protection. I love you all. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.